'tis the season to embrace all things spooky and scary. Recently, people have flocked to the Wistariahurst Museum in Holyoke for a rare nighttime glimpse of the historic home and to observe if anything goes bump in the night. Johnson of Wistariahurst filled me in on some of the stories of those who lived there and worked there that just might make you shudder.
It actually originally was in Haydenville, north of Northampton, and William Skinner, he owned a silk mill, the Uncamonk Silk Mill in Haydenville, and after the flood of 1874, the mill was destroyed. His house did get flooded, but he relocated to Holyoke, and he loved his house, so he didn't want to build a new one. So they took it on an ox cart down and rebuilt it in Holyoke.
A huge feat. We're talking the late 1870s.
Yes.
It's not as if you had modern, heavy, wide load equipment that could bring this.
Yeah.
So it must have been quite the spectacle, I imagine, bringing it and then reconstructing it where it is in Holyoke.
Yeah, it actually, his new mill in Holyoke was up and running within 6 months of the flood, and the house took 2 years to take down and rebuild.
And so who from the Skinner family would have been living in that house that people tour in Holyoke now?
The Skinner family is the only family that ever lived there. William Skinner and his wife Sarah. It was actually his second wife. His first wife wouldn't have ever lived there. And then they had 5 children who lived to be adults. They did have 2 who died as babies, and then 1 who died when she was 4. So, but 5 did live long lives.
And one of the family members actually gifted the home to the city of Holyoke, right?
Yes. So the youngest daughter, Kitty, she was the last family member to live there. She had been married and moved out, but after her husband died, she moved back in, and it just was too much for the family to keep up. So she moved out and donated it to the city.
The last year or two, you've been offering a nighttime program in advance of Halloween. You're doing that this year. Darkened Hallways.
Yes.
Creepy. Well, why did you decide to offer this to the public?
Well, it's whenever we have events at night, people are really into the house. Usually it's just you're going to the music room for whatever the event is, or it's at the gallery, or it's in a specific room and you don't get to see the rest of the house. So we decided to open it up and let people see it at night. And also, we don't have the lights on. We'll have a couple on, but we have like little candles around, not actual flames, but so people can kind of get a sense of what it's like at night and what it would have been like for the family, because they did have electricity, but I'm sure it wasn't what it is today.
No, it's not LED lighting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Does the house have an overall different feel at night?
It definitely does. When it's dark, there are a lot of dark corners and a lot of, if you hear something, you're not really sure where it came from, so it definitely does have a creepier feel at night.
And I know Wistariahurst has done different programs in the past where maybe people were jumping out at you. This is a different program, right?
It is, yeah.
And does it build on some of the legend and lore, some spooky events that have happened there?
It does. So we try to make it a little bit about the history of the house so that you get that as well. But we tell stories that we don't typically tell during the normal tour about some people who have died in the house. One of their servants actually died in the house. Upstairs, she was older. She had been with the family for a long time, and she had a heart attack.
Natural causes.
Yeah, natural causes. So, and we did have, there is a servant he was the gardener, and he was trimming a tree, like he was up trimming branches, and he fell out of the tree, and there was a wrought iron fence that he landed on and died. And
so those are 2 people you've mentioned who have passed away in the house. Do people report seeing them, seeing other people in the house?
We haven't had any reports of seeing actual people. It's more like noises, things that you can't really explain, more than like, I saw a person. There is a story that a family member, like a long time ago, saw someone that they couldn't explain who it was, and they think it was a neighbor that had just died. That was like years ago, though. That was when the family was still there. That happened to one of the servants. Actually saw it. So.
And how about you? What have you experienced? Anything interesting, different for you in the house?
Yeah, there's been some creepy things like doors slamming with glass shattering, unexplained, and just noises, footsteps, things like that. I definitely haven't seen anyone.
But so was that at night when you were in the house that you experienced that?
Some of them were at night, some were during the day, broad daylight.
Just wondering if you feel like the occurrences of these questionable things are happening more at night than they're happening during the day.
Yeah, probably. Well, no, not really. It's kind of equal, but I think having it at night, everybody is a little more creeped out at night, so, and they say that typically ghosts are going to pop up at night.
This tour is sold out, and you say it sells out very quickly the last 2 years you've offered it, right?
Yes.
So if we divulge some of the details, I don't feel too bad because there's a lot of people who won't get to experience this.
Yeah.
For you, sold out so quickly, why do you think that people like to be spooked or scared?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the time of year, first of all. It's like how Salem really picks up in October, I think people like the idea of the spookiness of it and seeing a side of Wistariahurst that you're not necessarily going to see. And because it's such a big part of the community, it just, I don't know, people... they want to be startled. They want to be able to say they heard something or they felt something. So this is just that opportunity. And when it's dark, I think just you're just more likely to hear something or whatever, or maybe you hear something and it's not necessarily anything too spooky, but if it's at night, it just kind of
all the more possible that it's something lurking that's going to come and get you, right?
Yeah.
There might be people listening to us have this conversation and say, okay, she said a door slammed, glass broke, could have been the wind. I don't believe in this. What would you say to them?
I would say that go to Wistariahurst yourself, and see, because I think once you're in there, you feel something. You definitely do. I don't think there's anything sinister there. I will say that right now. It's definitely all very nice. If you go, you'll see, and I think you'll believe a little bit more.